Yo. Yeah, I just had to use the facility at a inconvenient time. Dude, I'm sitting here with my headset on, like I'm not lying, waiting for the invite. Yeah, my oh, that's all right. They know we just chit chat. Yeah, I had to go grocery shopping today. That was crazy. There was nobody practicing social distancing. Just terrible. Yeah. I don't think so. No. Oh, hey, hold up. Hold up. Somebody's saying I can't hear you. Did you
I keep
have you
doing
been
this,
muted this
man.
whole time?
Yes, I was muted this whole time, man. That would have been a good segment too, man. That is crazy. Wow. I'm up here giving everybody shout outs. Man, I'm gonna just say shout out to everyone because it seems like it's a bunch of people rolling in. But man, I was sitting here talking the whole time. Wow. But anyway, let me go ahead and reintroduce myself again in Bill. And so it's your boy Smitty, RFL commissioner and play-by-play commentator. And as you already know, and of course, as I said, and you guys missed it, we're here. We're going to adopt the name Bill Nye. I was about to say the science guy, the RFL guy. And so, as always, ready to get this podcast going. Ready to recap the past week. Get ready for the upcoming week. Talking about other key topics. Usually go on with three. We'll have three main topics to talk about here in this one. Big shout out to everyone in attendance, man. And I got to remember to turn on my commentary mic sometimes when I kick these things off, man, because I was
Everybody
talking for a
thinks
little
I'm
minute.
crazy.
All right, so let's get into it, man, since we wasted a little bit of time already. Big shout out to you guys, man, who are here in attendance right now. See, we got 16 strong. Appreciate that. If you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button before we get things going. But let's get things going right now. The London Bulldogs took on the Huskies last week to kick off week 11. And the Huskies look like they are in rhythm now. They got a pretty dominant win. Great defense started them out the game with 14 points to start out with two big turnovers, and they were able to pull out with the victory, 43-27.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the difference in this game because the Huskies, they sort of piled it on late, but for the most part, it looked like Bulldogs were maybe a step or two behind them, but were in the game after the initial shock of the two defensive touchdowns to open up the game. But luckily, they had the defense this week. Surprisingly, not the off. I mean, the offense was there, but usually it's the offense we're talking about the most. But the defense really stepped up and helped them pull out the win today.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers of the offense in general for the Huskies, it really wasn't doing nothing too special here. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
there was no guy running over 100 yards, no guy receiving over 100 yards. Uh, Brady Hudson didn't crack over 300. He just was north of 270, only one touchdown pass, even though he was very accurate, 31 to 35. But still, other than that, I mean, like you said, the Bulldogs were not really just completely blown out as the score kind of says here. It was kind of close. Those two defensive touchdowns, like you said, definitely, I think it already turned the tide of the game before it even started. The first two, I think it was the first two plays on both, right? Or it was the drive
It
on the
was pretty
first, and then
close.
they had a pick. Yeah, so I mean, it was just two big defensive plays by the Huskies. Big win for them. They're 7-3. Bulldogs dropping to 6-4. And another topic to talk about with the Bulldogs has been their struggle to take care of the football, which is something that Coach Reed has talked about a lot. And hopefully they can just take better care of the football, because if the Bulldogs they reduce their turnovers, maybe they win more games than 6 so far this season. So that's something they're going to have to look forward to and hope for the better for as this season continues.
Yeah, definitely.
And so following that game on Twitch, it was the Aviators taking on the River Hogs. The River Hogs were able to pull out with the win, 33-16. I thought that the Aviators kind of fought a little bit here in this one, but they came up short. What's your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I for a minute, I almost thought they were going to pull it off, man. They were right there neck and neck with the River Hogs for the majority of the game. Then as like the fourth quarter, and oh man, I finally saw the big Kingston Kenny run. I've been waiting for that all season. I don't know what it is, but I love Kingston Kenny. That run was crazy. At the point that the Aviators might pull one out, but Riverhogs turned it up in the fourth, and they weren't going to go down like that. They got the ball back into the Riverhogs' hands, and they ran away with it.
Yeah, man, it was a tough loss a week ago to the Huskies that the Riverhogs had, which dropped them at the time to 5-4. They want to try to compete. They want to try to go make a playoff push, and so this was a well-needed win. But like we were saying, I mean, it was a pretty close game. The Aviators, they really aren't talked about, and right now I feel that the community is looking at them as a much more weaker team than they have been in the past. But they have fought in a couple of games, and this was a good game showing by them. Like you said, it was always great to see Kingston Kenny go off 6 carry. He only touched the ball 6 times, man. But that long touchdown run was really what sprung him up there with the yards. But he was doing great. Only 6 carries, 126 rushing, 24 rushing yards. And Russell Rennis continuing to have a little bit of issues, just taking care of the football. Didn't throw any touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. But we already know what's kind of going on there with the Aviators having, pretty much a system or scheme issue there with Russell Rennis, which is why I feel like he's not playing as great as we've all mentioned as commentators and everything from games before. Another thing, I might as well pull this announcement out as well. The Aviators coach has returned. And he will be back this week coaching, and he just sent him an invite back to the AFC file, so he will be able to prepare before this week as long as he gets his stuff in today. And so maybe that might change things for the Aviators. Most likely it won't, but at least they got a coach now. Hopefully he can scheme them and get them right. But better luck this upcoming week for the Aviators. In the next game, to kick off the Premier Days, it was the Gunners taking on the Desperados. Now, this was a really good game. These guys were going back and forth at it. Jabri Jackson having himself a great game. And I honestly thought that the Gunners were going to come out and win this. They needed to win this one, but they didn't because Tavion Hall showed up, so did Chase Mason, and they ended up just winning this game by a late field goal, 34-31.
Yeah, you pretty much echoed it. Said exactly what I was going to say. It was a great game. It was back and forth all game. Came down to the final field goal. But, man, the one player didn't talk, the biggest playmaker in this game, and that was Henry Moss. What in the world? Where did that come from? He hasn't been doing that all year, and he just comes out with 3 touchdowns. Just a great performance by Henry Moss, and great game to watch overall because the Gunners, like you said, they needed this one. They just couldn't get it done. The Desperados are a tough team, and came down to that last field goal, and unfortunately it wasn't on their side.
And I see people talking about Ronnie Nickens. Ronnie Nickens in that game, he got injured, so it just seems like as soon as Ronnie Nickens got injured, I don't think it's a long-term injury though, but as soon as he went down, the run game went out. So they tried to run it there with Ricky Flores, and you can see his performance, 46 yards on 17 carries, which is pretty tough. He at least scored a touchdown, and I guess the offense was still moving through Jabri Jackson. Where the run game lacked, he picked up. He was, as always, being the entire offense, throwing for over 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he ran for 94 yards outside the pocket, man. So, I mean, Jabri Jackson continues to try to hit his best to lead his team to victory. Big reason why he won the Season 3 MVP because, I mean, that guy has been I'd probably say the lone success on why the Gunners have always been successful in one of the games that they have. I know we talk about Lester Gadsden leaving and everything, and he was a big factor for them, but now that they got Ronnie Nickens, you can kind of see that the offense has been a little bit more productive as well. But, as soon as he went out and they were one-dimensional, I mean, they still competed But Jabri Jackson continues week in and week out to try to keep his team afloat and to try to win games, and it just isn't going their way. And it's sad to say it, but for 2 straight years before this, they made it to the playoffs all the way up to the NFC Championship game, both times being eliminated by the Thunderbirds, and now it looks like they might not even make it this year. So that's a tough break right there. And don't even let me get started about season 3 when they fell short by a yard when they could have been in that season 3 championship game where the Thunderbirds ended up winning it all, man. So that was tough.
Yeah. The other thing about that too is it's sort of for the Gunners. I mean, it's rough because most of us know Jabri isn't getting any younger. Like that window they got is not wide open anymore, So like this kind of season can really throw things through a loop. So I mean, hopefully they can figure something out. But I think at this point it's too late to even try to turn it around.
Yeah, unless they surprise us and win out. If they win out and they go 11-5, they may have a chance, but it's going to be it's going to be tough for them to do it, man. The offense is really going to have to come up. And we talk about the offense, but it's mainly the defense. Their defense, not that great. And if their defense can play well and their offense can play well as well, and they do win out, I think they got a chance to make the playoffs, but it is very unlikely with the way these other teams in the NFC have been playing so far this year. Following that game, it was yet again another beatdown for the Monarchs. They still have not won a single RFL game yet. And the Steamers, they kind of, I guess Reed Wagner felt bad for them, threw a pick at the end of the game, gave them their only touchdown. And Tom Wood was able to take it to the house for a touchdown to make the score 34-13. But the Monarchs, man, continuing to get thrashed. Of course, we already know most likely they're going to be the number 1 pick this year in the draft. But what's your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, it was. I saw this coming. After last week's game with the Thunderbirds, I think the Steamers had a point to prove, and they proved it. It was pretty bad for the Monarchs, but you expect this. The Steamers are a great team. The Monarchs just need a few more pieces yet, and even though it might only be a few pieces, it can seem like the whole team needs to be replaced if it's in the right spots where they are missing guys, and that's sort of the Monarch story of the season. And hopefully they can just get to the off season and find those pieces, because it's going to keep happening if things don't change.
And a big thing, just to bring up another point why I'm so excited about the change that us as a coaching union had to make is because you can see Preston Schrader really struggle throwing the football, but this was not the only week. He's been struggling for the past 3 to 4 weeks throwing the football. He was 10 for 24, 103 yards. That is pretty bad. 0 touchdowns. They tried to get it going with Rhodes, but the Steamers at this point already figured, hey, we're not worried about Schrader throwing the football. Let's just focus on the run, shut down their entire offense just about. And, their best receiver was their tight end with 4 receptions for 49 yards. So that offense is definitely getting stalemated simply because of the quarterback play. And I feel they're going to play slightly better now because of the change, because I honestly feel like Schrader is not that bad of a quarterback. We've talked about this before, even though he has played pretty bad this week, and it was because of the sliders to try to compensate for the abilities. And now that, these okay quarterbacks can actually play okay instead of being terrible, I think that the Monarchs may possibly have a chance before the season's over to try to defeat a team, but they definitely weren't going to get it done against the Steamers. And the Steamers, just nothing really too much to say about them. They just handled business. And if you look at the game notes, I mean, these guys were just killing it on offense. They had over 100 yards for both of their running backs and over 100 yards for both of their receivers, with Calhoun and Brown for the running backs and Jackson and Reese, the tight end, for a combined of 261 receiving yards, man. So, I mean, they were just getting it done. You could see every category in yards for the top 3 guys, 100 plus. So, great performance by the Steamers, and, an easy dub right there as they get ready for next week. And so, following that one, we had the Orlando Sentinels traveling to Austin to take on the Armadillos, and it was a close game. A lot of a close game. There's a lot of hype around this game too as well, because returning to start at this quarterback position was Devin Wade, and Devin Wade honestly did not play too bad. Some guys are saying that he got bailed out by his receiver Maurice Darman making some big plays, but I honestly felt like he didn't play too bad against the Sentinels. He almost was able to come back and pull off a upset victory, but the Sentinels able to hold on there 30-27.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be this close. Like, the Armadillos are a good team, but I assumed that the Sentinels that we're going to win this one handedly. I was a little surprised, but yeah, I think Devin Wade was actually the reason for it. He came out and he looked good, which is surprising considering how he left the starting spot the last time and what we saw out of him last year. I hope they stick with him because it looked like he gave him a little spark there on offense. And yeah, but at the end, DWJ does what he does. He brought him back, put him in line to win the game, and Sentinels came away with it.
Yeah, this was a Offensive Player of the Week for the AFC performance by DWJ, as always. I mean, this guy has been a monster. You know, we always tend in the RFL and in, you know, in the pros in general to look to see if the rookie can be as consistent as he was his first year, the second year. There's been a couple of instances, even in the RFL, where guys have had sophomore slumps. One for in particular that we can talk about at the same position for the Desperados, Eric Fisher. He came in, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. The next season, you know, he's benched, and he didn't necessarily get benched. He played the rest of the season. They went 10-6, but he got benched as they went out and got an older guy, an old veteran, and Chase Mason, who's doing well right now, but you know, that should have been Eric Fisher's team, and that sophomore slump really took him out of the equation. But you don't see that in DWJ. I mean, DeAndre Wilkins Jr., second year, he is still very consistent in his play. And like I said, AFC Player of the Week this past week for Week 11. And he was 32-42, 400-plus passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Absolute stunning performance. And not only that, his receivers, they were making plays, but so was the tight end, Brandon Cushing, 10 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this offense just doing what it's been doing for the most part all season. You know, I mean, they've lost to worthy opponents, and it was a good thing they were able to pull out with that one, but the Armadillos sure didn't make it easy. And back to Wade, I think I saw Roby in the chat talking about you know, inconsistent to say at least. And I do agree with that. I mean, Devin Wade did not look bad in this game, but there was definitely some instances where you could see the inconsistency there. But I believe it's just the fact of the caliber of quarterback. So just all around a great game, great win for the Sentinels and Coach Armstrong. And I know Coach, how you say, DeRocher? Yeah, DeRocher and the Armadillos are going to be looking to fix things up heading into next week. And so here goes a big game. Got a lot of Barons fans that like to show up to our streams, our games. And I know they were excited to bounce back after a 2-game losing streak on the road in Chicago, defeating the Tigers 41-27. What do you guys say about this game?
Yeah, good bounce back. I know that Coach Woods has been trying to right the ship after that little 2-game slide they had, and it's been eating up him, the Barons fans, everybody around. But you know, sometimes it happens. But here they get the good bounce back win. Their defense played great. They were getting turnovers left and right. And they helped them run up the score. And you know, the Tigers, they tried to come back a little bit, but it was too little, too late for them at that point. And yeah, the Barons get back on track.
Yeah, I had to mute my mic real quick so you guys didn't hear that. I forgot I didn't even close my door. I'm sitting here. I don't even know if you guys heard any sounds or anything going on. I don't think you did, but anyway, yeah, like you were saying, good bounce back for the Barons. Very excited to see that you know, Coach Woods. Oh, controller just fell. My bad. Very excited to see that Coach Woods and the Barons, you know, bounce back even after a tough loss. I mean, and even in those losses, they were close games. The biggest shock, of course, for them in that 2-game losing span was definitely that loss to the Shamrocks. And, you know, that might have even tainted a chance for those guys to even come back and possibly win this, you know, be able to be playoff worthy. They've never made it to the playoffs before. The curse for them has always been make a better record than 8-8. And they still have a chance to go 8-8. But I don't feel after that performance that they will split with the Tigers. I do feel that the Barons now, next time they meet the Tigers, will still be able to beat them, but you never know in the RFL. And it was a great performance. You know, just nothing really to say too much about this except for the fact that Jack Winkler played like an absolute stud. The whole offense was going. Kenny Steele, everything was going great for the Barons, and they just ended up coming out with the game. Great performance, great effort, I can say, for the Tigers to try to stay in this one. And you know you're always going to get a great effort out of Peyton Vandervelde, the quarterback, and you can see him. A lot of passes, 59 passes in that game, close to 400 yards. And, you know, it was just a tough game for them. Tried their best to get the win at home. Couldn't get it done. Great win there for Coach Woods and the Barons. And so I believe this was no that was it for the premier games. We go back into the primetime games, and we started out with a big rematch between the Black Knights and the Celtic Tigers. Always a great historical rivalry in the RFL, as the Celtic Tigers once again get it done. 9-1 on the season. They take down the Black Knights for a second time here in this series this season, 32-17.
Yeah, these two always have great games. I think this game was, it doesn't look like it at the end score, but throughout the game, it was back and forth, big play after big play by both sides. And they relied on Worsley heavy today. I mean, they really passed and they ran. But Worsley had 30 carries, 126 yards. He really had to grind them out, but helped them get those extra yards. And, they ended up coming out 32-17. And I expected it. The Black Knights are a good team too, but the Celtic Tigers have just been on a roll this year. I don't know what it's going to take to slow them down or stop them. But yeah, they are just, I don't even know what to say about them. Hopefully they go to the Rio Bowl like they're supposed to, and Dre wins it all, but it's going to be a fun time for anybody to try to stop them from doing that. And one thing I want to point out from the Black Knights, Mike Strongley is just a man amongst boys out there. I was watching him play, and my gosh, that guy can ball.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't lead the team in receiving yards. DJ Nance ended up doing that. But Mike Strongley, for one, is just like he's a cheat code. He's like Rob Gronkowski. I believe he was put into. I created him to be a rookie in the league way back in season 2, and I got the inspiration from Rob Gronkowski. And I didn't think he was going to last that long because he didn't come in and he wasn't a starter. He was productive, but he wasn't a starter at the time. And then he just over time ended up growing and being a beast anyway. And you could just see his production. It was a great game he had there, but still not enough to beat the Celtic Tigers. Dre Crowell, I mean, just being Dre Crowell. The crazy thing is, though, he only had one touchdown pass in there. And if you were watching that game, the Black Knights did a phenomenal job in the red zone against the Celtic Tigers. And they have, I believe they were only able to get in the end zone and score twice, if I'm not mistaken. And there was like 3 or 4 drives where they were in the red zone. And I believe one turn, of course, was an interception that he threw, and the others were just stops that they had held him to field goal. So it was a great job by the Black Knights, bending but not breaking, but just not enough for them to be able to produce. And another thing, I was kind of shocked with Langford Cloud's absence on the ground for the Black Knights, but that just says a lot to this Celtic Tigers defense. They shut them down to just 27 yards rushing, no touchdowns, and I believe that was the factor what made it more one-sided in the area of the Celtic Tigers. But still, I can't really say one-sided because the Black Knights did stay in the game for quite a bit, but just not enough against a powerhouse team like the Celtic Tigers and the GOAT Dre Crowell. Following that game on Twitch, we had the Voyagers versus the Pioneers, and we expected a beatdown on the Pioneers, but the Pioneers, something they've been doing all season, has been fighting back. Still lost by a pretty large margin, but the Pioneers just looking to try to at least end the season with a win, but they don't get it here. Voyagers win it 41-22.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say about this one. I expected the Voyagers to win. The one thing I will say I was a little surprised about is how easily the Voyagers were just scoring, because while the Pioneers have a lot of problems, their defense has usually been a little bit more disciplined and consistent than that, but they couldn't stop anything today, and the Voyagers just rolled right through them.
Yeah, and I was still talking about just in general for the fight back for them getting the 2 points, but like you said, the defense, that's been their strong point of their team this entire season, despite them losing every game so far. And I mean, the Voyagers, they are low key a scary team right now in the RFL. They're 7-3. They are in the hunt right now. We'll be looking at the playoff pictures and everything like that. But the Voyagers, I mean, they just moved with ease, and a big player to highlight in that game. Not only Glenn Hay and, of course, Terrence Ward on the ground, he did a great job, but you can see the receiver, Douglas Drayton, I believe, having his best game of his career in the RFL. 9 receptions for 177 yards and a touchdown. He absolutely torched that Pioneers defense with pure ability and speed. He's always been a very fast receiver, but he showcased it every time he touched the football in that game. He even was going up bagging guys. He didn't even need the speed. He was going up. He had a crazy catch over like 3 or 4 Pioneers I mean, he earned every yard that he got in that game, and it was a fantastic performance. Like you said, nothing really else too much to say about this game, but just a great performance by him and Coach Baker and the Voyagers in general. The Thunderbirds took on the Crusaders in a very important game. This was Monday to close out the week, and this was the day you were looking forward to, hoping that you would see the Crusaders upset the Thunderbirds. It doesn't happen, and in the game following this, we'll get into. But the Crusaders were kind of in this for a minute. They actually had the lead going into the half. It was 13-14, and then the Thunderbirds, as they always seem to do, they don't always start out and finish out a game with the same tempo. They always seem to even come out with a great start or a bad ending, or a bad start and a great ending. So, I mean, that's kind of what happened here. They came out to a little bit of a bad start. The second half, they turned up, and they were able to defeat the Crusaders 30-14.
Yeah, it was, like I said, like you said, for a second there, it looked like this might end up being either a shootout between the two teams or just a very close one at the end. But yeah, second half rolled around, and the Thunderbirds do what the Thunderbirds do, and picked off Wakefield 4 times, and it just had themselves a very Thunderbirds-like victory, I guess is the best way I can put that.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds, I mean, their defense definitely showed up in a big way in the second half. And, it says 4 interceptions there for Wakefield, but I feel like it was more earned by the Thunderbirds. 2 of them, I believe, were just great plays off of deflections of the receivers dropping them. The other one, he was giving his receiver a 50-50 ball on a 9, but, Alex Morancola, being their best cover cornerback, was able to pick it off. And the one interception that he did throw that I felt was his fault was on the hook. He threw it, and it was a great defensive play by the cornerback, honestly, breaking on the football. He dropped the interception, but Wayne Norman, who had a tremendous defensive day for the Thunderbirds here in this game, was able to, catch the ball and dive for it before it hit the ground. And, that resulted in his 4 interceptions. But, of course, you get that when you play against the league's #1 pass defense and #1 defense in general. And so, he tried his best. They tried their best. But one thing that was completely non-existent, which always seems to be the case whenever any team plays the Thunderbirds, is the run game was simply not there. Vondre Bryson had 11 touches, only had 12 yards, literally a yard per carry just about every time he touched the rock, which was tough. And then their leading receiver was Marshall Leli with 98 yards. And speaking of why he was most likely, that kind of makes it tough because now in that game, the Crusaders lost their best receiving weapon, and at the time, the league's leading receiver in receiving yards with Elijah Bentley. And so they're now without a top target. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects the Crusaders. That's something we're definitely going to be talking about later on in this podcast. But without Bentley there, you could see the offense it got difficult for Wakefield to try to rely on his receivers to make plays. Like I said, interceptions happened because some of his receivers just could not come up and make the catch when the ball was there, and the defense just made the play to get the interception and force the turnover. So tough shake there for the Crusaders. Great win for the Thunderbirds on bouncing back. And, hopefully things shape up next week, because next week when we get into it, it's going to be a pretty big week for both these teams. And to finish out the recap of this past week's games, another one riding off of the Crusaders and Thunderbirds game, which is what made Monday such a big game day in the RFL for a lot of guys, is the fact that, once the Crusaders lost, it was a lot on the line, because if the Crusaders, since they lost, if the Snowhawks were able to defeat the Lancers, the Snowhawks would have moved up to #1 in the division, and most likely, if they do that, it's game over. Snowhawks are going into playoffs. But the Lancers were able to defeat the Snowhawks in this game 27-20 to remain the #1 seed. It kind of shocked us too, because I honestly thought the Lancers weren't going to be able to get it done. This was their first real big competition that they've had this season, and they showed up in a big way. It was a close game still, as expected, and the Lancers won it 27-20, man.
Yeah, I've been saying this all season, and I'm talking to Coach Rozier right now, because he's been at my neck about me not giving his team credit all season, and I was waiting for this exact moment right here. Okay, You went out and you beat a very high-powered team. The record might not indicate it, but we all know why the record doesn't indicate it. This team is just as good as anybody else in the RFL when it comes to talent and what they can do. The fact that you beat them, now I'm putting you up at the top there. You deserve the number 1 spot right now. I'm hoping to come for it, but this is what I was waiting for. I like what you're doing, and I think the Lancers are on a roll right now.
Yeah, and I believe that's what everyone's been saying, man. I mean, to be honest, nobody expected the Lancers to be 9-1 right now. And let's be honest with that. Like, if Coach Rozier, I know he's probably expecting his team to be undefeated, so he probably believed that the whole time. But like, nobody expected the Lancers at all to be a 9-1 team. They are literally on a 9-game winning streak. They lost their first game to the Desperados 13-10. And ever since then, they've been winning games. So, I mean, but you look at those other games leading up to this, they honestly did not have any comp at all that was really, I guess the only competition other than the Snowhawks game was the fact that they were able to beat the Marshals twice, which is great. But the Marshals, they're a good team, yeah, but they're not an elite team. The Snowhawks, even though their record says 5-5, we know why they're 5-5 due to the suspension. But the Snowhawks, I mean, they are an elite team. And the fact that the Lancers were able to go on the road in Portland and defeat the Snowhawks, that said a lot. Now, granted, that, honestly, looking at this game, to break down this game, the Snowhawks definitely had a chance to win this one. Once they lost DJ Scott and they got McDonald in the mix, I mean, we all love Jacob McDonald, man. But, it's definitely a difference you can see once you get a back that doesn't start against actual starters. He just could not perform, and he just didn't have the speed and the talent like DJ Scott had. And you can see, despite DJ Scott leaving early in the game, he still led the team in rushing yards with 6 carries for 46 yards. That's a phenomenal carry. Everyone already knows, DJ Scott's definitely the top guy for the running back spot, but I feel like if DJ Scott was in the game and he did not get injured, they would have been able to manage the offense more. And I feel like that's another big reason on why Joseph Gidley was on his back for a majority of this game. He got sacked a lot. And I should have looked up the statistic to see how many times exactly he got sacked in that game. But it was definitely over 7 times, as I can remember Rob Roby saying in the live stream as he was commentating. So he got hit a lot. That's definitely big kudos off to the OKC Lancers just getting it done. But I really feel like, the Snowhawks had a chance, but not going to take anything away from the Lancers. They did what they had to do, and they ended up winning the game. So big shout out to those guys, man. And we're actually going to be talking more about them, so I guess I'll leave that at that. But great week of games, man. And this upcoming week is going to be just as important, just as big as well, which we're going to get into here.
Oh, and just so everybody knows, it was 7 sacks. That's how many it shows in the game.
Okay, so I was right on the money then. 7 sacks. He got sacked 7 times. That's that. And you usually don't see Joseph Gidley get sacked that many times at all.
No, you don't.
You don't. And the fact that he's got the ability of protected to give him more time just gives even more credit to the Lancers defense. Their defense showed up in a big way there in that game. But here, okay, so that was last week's schedule. So that's pretty much what we recapped. I forgot to upload that. Okay, so I could already put this in here though. I already had the graphics. So here we go. There we go. Dropped it in. So this is the week that we're on here. Week 12 coming up. I'm going to go ahead and read off the games. You're going to list who you got winning. And, of course, the games you're most excited to watch. The 3 best games that you're most excited to watch, of course. And so we start off, of course, the week tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern with your game. I'm not going to talk too much about this because this is going to be a big topic, but we already know how big the Explorers and Thunderbirds game is, and that's going to kick off the week here for Week 12, and that's going to be a battle for the division. So that's going to be huge. Explorers versus Thunderbirds, following by another big divisional game right here. That is a must-watch game if you're an RFL fan. Once again, we were kicking off the week with a crazy matchup right here. And I said I wasn't going to get stuck up on these games, but still, those 2 games to kick off this week is crazy. On Twitch, the Crusaders take on the Snowhawks for the division after the Explorers and Thunderbirds game. So Thursday is going to be absolutely lit. This week, we've got a Friday game, and it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern. That game will be called by Jeff, and it will be the Bulldogs taking on the Black Knights on YouTube. The rest of these games, we won't have any commentary on Premiere Day on Saturday. So because Frank Champion said he won't be able to commentate, and I moved Jeff up there to Friday since we squeezed in that game. So that's how it's going to go. So these Premiere games on Saturday will not have any of our staff's commentary. It will just be the in-game commentary. So of course, bear with us on that as always on Premiere Days. But we have our Premiere Days with the I'll go in order. The Shamrocks taking on the Monarchs. Then we have the Celtic Tigers and the Dreadnoughts. Huge game right there. Battle for the top of the league, honestly, right there. And at the same time at 4 o'clock, we got the Armadillos taking on the Conquistadors. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern, we have the Barons taking on the Marshals, another big matchup. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, to close out Premiere Day, the Diablos taking on the Gunners. And then we move on to the Sunday primetime games. We have the Pioneers taking on the Red Dragons on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Voyagers taking on the River Hogs at 7 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. And then we finish out on Monday with the Desperados and the Condors going at it on YouTube at 6. And the Bulls taking on the Aviators at 7:30 on Twitch. So that's this week's slate of games. Go ahead, list off your winners and list off the games you are most excited to watch for this week, Bill.
All right, well, first off, I'd just like to say, I see you, Roland. I'll be screenshotting that one. I'm glad you're an Explorers fan for the week. But now going back to the games here, Explorers and Thunderbirds, like I do every week, I got to pick my team. You know, I know the Thunderbirds are the best team, but I fully believe that we can win the game, and I'm going to pick us to win it. Crusaders at the Snowhawks. Man, if Bentley was in this game, I'd say it's a toss-up. I have to go Snowhawks here without Elijah Bentley being there for the Crusaders. Friday's Bulldogs at Black Knights. I'm going to go Black Knights here. They're at home. They have a lot of firepower too, just like the Dogs, but I'm going to give them the edge for them being at home this week. And then we have the Diablos, the Gunners. I'm going to go Gunners. Shamrocks at the Monarchs. I'm going to go Shamrocks. They've been on a roll lately. Celtic Tigers at the Dreadnoughts. Sorry, Frank, the yell at me later, but I'm going Celtic Tigers. I don't think anybody else will pick against me with that one. Armadillos at the Conquistadors. I sort of want to see Devin Wade win a game, but I don't know what one we're going to get if he starts again, so I'm going to go Conquistadors here. Barons at Marshals. This was a really tough game. I do think, though, that the Barons will get it done. The Marshals are at home. They're a very, very good team. I just have a feeling that the Barons are going to do something a little extra and pull out the victory. Pioneers at Red Dragons. I'm going to pick the Red Dragons. Voyagers at the River Hogs. This one, I like what Coach Baker's doing. I'm going Voyagers, going into Portland and taking out the W. Yell at me in the chat all you want. That's my pick. Desperados at Condors. Desperados, that's an easy choice for me. And then Bulls at Aviators, going to have to go Bulls. For the games that are the most exciting, both games on Thursday to me, obviously. Both have major implications in playoffs, division standings. So those two games, my game, Thunderbirds, and then the Crusaders and Snowhawks. And then aside from that, third game is also the NFC, and that's actually the Barons and Marshals, because those are the other two teams that are really sort of fighting right now for that sixth spot in the playoffs alongside me in the fifth spot. So that's a huge game. Like, those three games basically are the NFC playoffs this weekend. So those are the three games that I'm most looking forward to watching.
Good predictions right there, man. With my predictions, starting off with your game, Bill, you're my guy. But with home field advantage and the history between you guys and the Thunderbirds at home, especially with LC3 having the homer ability, I feel like the Thunderbirds might be the winners there in that one. So I guess me and you can argue after. But anyway, that's my selection for the first game. The following game is the Crusaders. And we know what the game is, and I'll choose the. I think the Snowhawks are going to be the ones to get it done. Like, it would have been a toss-up, like you said, had the Crusaders still had Elijah Bentley and he didn't get injured. But without no Bentley, I don't see how they can really win this game. It's still a possibility, but they will have to do everything right to be able to defeat we can say pissed off Snowhawks team after losing, as they did last week against the Lancers. So I got the Snowhawks winning that one. Bulldogs and Black Knights. I feel like the Black Knights in the second half of the season has kind of dipped off. And
Yeah,
I
a little
kind of,
bit.
so I got I'm gonna take the Bulldogs in this one. I think that they might be able to beat them, but that is going to be a really good game. Could be a toss up, but I'll take Coach Reed in this one. With the following game, I'll skip that one and be on the regular time. I got the Shamrocks defeating the Monarchs. Nothing really too much to say about that. I just think that the Shamrocks are a better team. We already know the situation with the Monarchs. The Celtic Tigers and Dreadnoughts. Love the Dreadnoughts, but of course, got to go with the Celtic Tigers, number one team in the league right now, and I think that's going to stay the case after this week. The next game I have I can't discuss this one because I had to record this one, so I already know the outcome, so I won't even speak on it. And at 6 p.m. we have the Barons and Marshalls. I got the you picked the Barons, I picked the Marshalls, and I don't know what it is. I just feel like they're going to win. I do have a feeling also that the Barons are more probably equipped coming into this one, but I kind of feel like the Marshalls for some reason might shock in well, not necessarily shock. I just feel like they might win it. So I'm gonna go with the Marshalls there in that one. And then for the Gunners and Diablos, I got the Gunners winning it. They've been playing some good football, just hasn't been coming up with wins. And kind of the same with the Diablos, but the Gunners just I feel is a better team. There's no point in me even trying to guess who's going to win this one. I got the Red Dragons over the Pioneers. The Voyagers and Riverhawks, the last time these guys played, it was a barn burner, great game, and the Voyagers were able to win it 34-30. And I just don't feel that the Voyagers are going to be able to do that again. Despite the great performance they had this week, I think that the Riverhawks going to find a way to pull this one out at home. So I got the Riverhawks winning that one. And then for the Desperados and Condors, got the Desperados. I think the Condors are a good team, not good enough to beat the Desperados. And the same deal for the Bulls and Aviators game. Got the Bulls winning that one. Used to be, pretty much teetering on the top team in the league as well. And I don't see the Aviators being able to pull off an upset there, even with the home field advantage. For my games for the top three, just to be different, I have no choice but to choose those first two games, of course, because those are definitely the biggest games to watch and to kick off the week and just in general for this week. And then aside from the Barons and the Marshalls game, I'm going to go with the Celtic Tigers and Dreadnoughts game. And the reason why I'm going to go with that game, just to be different, is because these are pretty much 1 and 2 teams right now. They are 1 and 2 teams in the top 10, which we'll get to after this. But what if Frankie actually does beat them? I mean, even though we highly doubt that that's going to happen,
Well,
what if he does?
Apparently, if that happens, you have to find another team because Frankie says so. So apparently, this is the Frankie FL now, not Smitty's doing it all.
The FFL now, huh?
Yeah. Anything else we should do for you, Frankie?
Yeah, so I do think that that's an interesting game just to see. For one, even if they lose, which most likely we feel they might, the Dreadnoughts, I still want to see how they compete against the Celtic Tigers because we already know they haven't had any good competition like the Celtic Tigers, of course, at all this year. But if they actually do a pretty good job against the Celtic Tigers and possibly win that would be very interesting to see if they do that. So that's why that's a big game for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean it's a big game, and that would have probably been my fourth game. And the only reason I didn't pick that one is because while it's two huge contenders right now, I don't really know if there's much playoff contention within that game. Because yes, both teams are very good, but both of them also have a very deep grasp, I believe, on their positioning already. And so that's why it sort of fell right out of my top three.
Yeah. I'm just interested to see what my Dreadnoughts about to do with these Celtic Tigers, and I love both of these teams honestly equally, all teams equally. I might as well say that. I can't be doing that as a commish, but anyway, we're gonna look at the top 10 power rankings heading into this week, and honestly, everything stayed the same except for one change. The Sentinels moved up over the Huskies for the 10th spot, so these are your top 10 power rankings. Really, honestly, ain't much at all to talk about this. So I just want to go ahead and show you guys and list off the names. And so staying the same all the way from 1 through 9. At number 1, the Celtic Tigers. Number 2, Dreadnoughts. 3, Bulls. 4, Lancers. 5, Thunderbirds. 6, Explorers. 7, Red Dragons. 8, Marshalls. 9, Steamers. And, of course, the new addition to the top 10, the Orlando Sentinels moving up. Is there anything that you have to say about this, that you want to say about this, Bill? Or rather just
Yeah,
move on?
I'm going to say two things. One, because I know this is the final week, I can guarantee I say it just in case Frankie pulls off a miracle. But I'm taking the Dreadnoughts and dropping them all the way to 7. All right, and then I'm moving everybody up, and I'm putting the Lancers up over the Bulls. There you go,
We'll
Rogier. I
see.
gave you your props. Now stop hating on me in the chats.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to look a lot different. Like I saw Coach Kozera talking about it. After this week, this is probably going to look a whole lot different.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and so yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how much it changes up since it didn't change so far. But like I said, not really too much to talk about with this one. We'll just have to see what happens when we head into week 13. And so let's go ahead and get a look at the current playoff picture. Starting off with the AFC. So far, the division leaders in the AFC of the RFL, we have the Celtic Tigers, the Dreadnoughts, the Bulls, and the Red Dragons in that order for the 1st through 4th spot. Currently sitting in a wild card spot, the Sentinels, after moving up in the top 10, now become the number 5 team in the wild card spot with a 7-3 record. And with the same record, the Huskies moved down a spot, but they're still in the wild card spot with a 7-3 record as well at number 6. In the hunt at the top, we have the Cougars, followed by the Voyagers, River Hogs, Black Knights, and Conquistadors. What's your thoughts on this playoff picture right now for the AFC?
It's looks like it's starting to take shape. At least for the in the hunt category, it looks like the Cougars and Voyagers, and you can throw the Riverhogs in there, but because they are still a game behind, it's going to be tough for all 4 of those teams to fall a game, and then for them to win one to sort of tie up with them again. But you can see that Cougars, Voyagers, Huskies, Sentinels, they're probably going to be the 4 really fighting for that wild card spot unless somehow one of those other teams ends up winning their division, which based on the records I don't see happening. So yeah, I mean it looks like it's really starting to take form to me. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises from here on out for the AFC.
Yeah, and yeah, like we said before, like we saw before, most of all those records on that right side was just about the same, and you are starting to see a little bit of separation, like you said. And for the most part, I feel like 1 through 7 is just about everyone's bet on who may make it into the playoffs for the AFC side. But still, that's not 6, so one of those guys most likely will fall out, and you never know what'll happen. Maybe somebody else does squeeze in. So still a couple of guys with the same record at 7-3. With the Voyagers there, and then you never know with the River Hogs, Black Knights, or those other guys. If they win, maybe they move up. So, yeah, still interesting, but for the most part, like you said, it seems like right now the playoffs has been kind of, for the most part, taking its shape for the AFC. For the NFC, things are still a little bit dicey, but for the most part, it also seems like teams do have some cushion and some leeway pretty much away from other teams that aren't all the way up there. We from 1 through 4 for the division leaders, we have the Lancers, Thunderbirds, Steamers, and Crusaders, luckily still keeping their division spot as number 1 after both them and the Snowhawks lost this past week. But that's the reason why this week's game's so big between them and the Snowhawks. But at number 5 in the wild card spot, we have your team, Bill, the Explorers, and the Marshals at 6. And in the hunt from 7 and then on, we have the Desperados, the Barons, Shamrocks, Elks, and the Snowhawks. The Elks moving up over the Snowhawks because they have the same record, and the Elks beat them twice during their suspension. So looking at this, what's your thoughts?
This is what I was talking about before while I was picking my favorite games. So there's 3 games this weekend that could completely change the look of this entire screen you're looking at. So while most of the teams are pretty much set in place, there's a lot of stuff still on the lines. For instance, the Marshals and Barons game, if the Barons beat the Marshals, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be taking over the Marshall spot in the 6th seed. And if I somehow beat the Thunderbirds, I'm jumping to 2. Thunderbirds are dropping to 5. The Desperados can sneak in with another win. There's just so many different. And then also at the bottom of the in the hunt, you got the Elks and the Snowhawks both tied with the Crusaders right now. The Crusaders just lost their number 1 weapon on offense. I mean, it's this thing, while it's sort of set, I mean, it is so wide open yet as opposed to who's going to be seated where and really who's even going to be in it at the end. So this is going to be fun next few weeks to see how this plays out, because it's going to be changing, I think, after this week for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I definitely agree with that. And even thinking more on it, even if the Barons were to beat the Marshals, I don't feel like the Desperados are going to lose this week. That would actually push the Desperados up to 6. And so I think that, that would be great for Coach Hooks and the Desperados if the Barons do beat the Marshals, because then they'll move in that 6th spot since they're over top of the Barons. And the Desperados, they're going to have an 8-3 record, and since they're already over the Barons. I feel like the new 7 and 8 is going to be, the Barons at 7 and then the Marshals at 8. And so, I mean, it's definitely a lot of big changes. I mean, 3 teams right now tied for the top of the NFC West, is it? Yeah, for the West. And another thought about it, too, is honestly, if the Snowhawks do beat the Crusaders, think about this. If the Snowhawks do beat the Crusaders, the Elks don't have a game this week. The new division leaders are not going to be the Snowhawks. It's going to be the Elks, now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah, because the Elks beat them.
Yeah, so the Elks are actually going to move up to leading the division. The Snowhawks are going to be behind them, and the Crusaders will be 3rd. So
And,
that's crazy.
Just to put this out there, because you mentioned it before, the Marshals and the Desperados have only played once so far this year, and the Desperados lost to the Marshals. So actually, if the Barons win, they should overtake the Marshals spot, and the Marshals would be 7 with the Desperados at 8, unless Madden changed how seeding works. But that's just what I'm seeing here from the schedule.
Okay. So that's interesting. I don't know how that's going to turn out. You never know with Madden.
But then they play again. They play each other in Week 15. So we have a lot of big matchups coming up. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be a big week. From here on out, the RFL games are going to be crazy, man. It's definitely going to be crazy. I cannot wait. This is what the RFL, man. When we get close to the playoffs, and even when the playoff hits, man, this is like the best time to be watching the Relocation Football League, man. Big shout out to everyone right now in attendance, and we'll move on to our next topic. A lot of good luck to all those guys right now in the hunt and everything else. But we'll move on to the next topic, and of course, the poster boy for the RFL and the team, the Lancers. Let's talk about the Lancers, man. And the big question here is, after that big win over the Snowhawks and the way that they've been performing these past couple of weeks, what's the likelihood that the Lancers win a relocation bowl? And with that being said, also, where would you rank them among elite teams? Are they an elite team right now?
Well, I mean, I think at this point you have to put them there. The one thing that was held against them was, yes, they beat the Marshals. I know that, but that's a divisional game. Those are always a toss-up. It doesn't matter who you are, what division you're in. Anytime it's a division game, you cannot count those as a regular game. The biggest test comes when you go and you face another high-powered team outside of your division, because that's the real test. And they answered it this week with the Snowhawks, I think. So you have to. I think it's definitely possible that they can go to the Reload Bowl. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they have an easy course to get there, because they have to go through, my team, the Thunderbirds. They have the Barons, the Marshals, the Desperados, all of these very high-powered teams on offense that it's going to be tough. But if they can hold their number 1 spot, they're sort of going to give themselves a little bit of an easy road, because they're going to get a nice bye. They're going to have the lowest seeding play against them. It's there, and they have the offensive firepower, I believe, to compete with any of these teams. And I think that they answered the final question I had about them this past week. So I don't see why not.
Yeah. So, yeah, my opinion is I do feel like this year they are an elite team, but I do have to see. I'm actually not going to give them the elite title yet, until we already know they're going to make the playoffs. This will be the first time in Lancers history that this team makes the playoffs out of the 5 years the RFL has been in existence. And I'm not going to give them that elite tag until they can beat elite teams in the playoffs. So I'm waiting for that. But with that being said, I will say that, right now, as of the regular season, they are elite. And I think they are definitely a team that does have the potential to make it to a relocation bowl this season if they prove, me wrong in terms of being elite in, well, actually it's not proving me wrong. It's just to prove that they are elite by beating a team that's elite in the playoffs. I mean, like you said, we already know who's mainly going to go to the playoffs. When we look at these other teams, they got the Explorers, they have the Thunderbirds, they have the Steamers up there.
Yeah, Steamers.
So I mean, those are three powerhouse teams, which most likely they will see in the playoffs, even though they're going to get a bye week most likely. But we still don't know about that. We'll still have to see how the rest of the season goes on. But if they get a bye week, then they'll be playing in a divisional round, and I'm 90% sure they're either going to see one of those three teams, in the playoffs. So that's going to be, I'm waiting to see that type of matchup first before I can call them elite. They're definitely an elite team in the regular season. They're a good team right now, but can they be elite in the playoffs? That's my biggest question for them.
Yeah, and I think we'll have the answer to that really at the end of the season, because they still have a couple of key matchups coming their way. The Steamers and myself yet, and the Shamrocks. The Shamrocks are definitely no slouch team. They might not have the same record as the other teams, but they have a good team. Then they finish out the Monarchs. So really, if they can get through the rest of this season and continue their winning streak, then I'd say you almost have to, just because of the teams they've beaten at that point.
Yeah, if they do beat you guys, and who was the other that you said was left on there?
Steamers and Shamrocks.
And the Steamers, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they can beat the Shamrocks, but if they beat you and the Steamers, that's making a statement too. But I'm still going to say that for them to be elite, they win in the playoffs. They're definitely elite. Next topic, though, that we have going on here is about, of course, the other big game going on this week, the Crusaders and Snowhawks, but we focus more on one team. And that's a big question that I'm going to ask is, what will the Crusaders have to do to defeat the Snowhawks without their top receiving weapon in Elijah Bentley, man?
Well, and that's just it. How can they have to find somebody to rely on? Is it Alexander Colt? Is it Marshall Eli? Somebody's going to have to step up on offense to be able to keep up with the Snowhawks. And if they can't do that, they're still going to have to find ways to score a few touchdowns, and then, see if, Coach Bacigalupi is going to have to go and talk with Noah and see if he can fill him in on what the heck to do, because whatever he drew up last week to get to Gidley, it worked. And that's really the only other thing they can do to beat him at this point. If you can get Gidley out of his comfort zone and force pressure on him and sack him like the Lancers did, you have a good shot on offense of being able to put up enough points to hold him off. But it's going to be tough without Bentley. So it's really tough, but you'd almost have to think that the only other option would be to maybe try to rely on Vondre Bryson and Sanchez Lawrence and see if maybe the run game can get him somewhere. But that's going to be tough, too, because the Snowhawks have a good defense. I'm really not sure, 100% sure. It's almost have to be a mixture of all that stuff coming together for it to work, because I'm not saying the Crusaders are a bad team. I'm not wanting anybody thinking that, but trust me when I say this, losing your number one receiver really hurts when you're rolling on offense in the passing game.
Especially in this league.
Yes, especially in this league. So it's going to be tough, but if you find a couple of tricks, I think they can do it.
Now, my takeaways just from that and why I think that would be hard, but still they have a chance, is the fact that their defense is not good. And we all know that, and Coach Botch has just tried to put them in the best positions and stuff, and he's gotten the best out of them at times. But and how do you have they were 28th ranked. They were the 28th ranked defense going into that game against the Thunderbirds. They probably are worse than that now after that performance. So to think that they'll be able to generate the same amount of pressure and do the same things that the Snowhawks defense did, I don't see how they would be able to do that. The only thing that I think will give them the highest chance of winning this game is two things. One is they have Ben Wakefield still at the quarterback, so that means a lot. You have a great quarterback. That is huge, and he's going to be able to make plays. The only thing is, as we saw in that Thunderbirds game, he kind of, those interceptions mainly came off of the back of his receivers without Bentley. The only way that they have a chance of winning this game, in my opinion, is if the receivers on this team steps up. We've seen Alexander Colt, make some plays, yes, but he has not been a consistent receiver for the Crusaders. He will be the number one, most likely, on the outside for the Crusaders. We talk about Lindsey Hardison. Lindsey Hardison is definitely a wide receiver that plays better, in my opinion, than his overall says, and he has been a pretty good target. But is he enough to be able to move on the defense of the Snowhawks, and is he enough to be consistent and make up for Bentley? I don't think so, but he'll have to try. And if they do get a performance out of his receivers, then and their defense somehow comes up and gets stops on this crazy good Snowhawks offense, then I think they do have a chance, and they could win this week to stay on top of the NFC West. So that's my takeaways from that. Also, I see Woods talking about it in the chat. Marshall Leli, that's also a big, a nice target to a nice topic to talk about too, because Marshall Leli has been a great receiving weapon for them as well. He led the team in receiving yards in that game against the Thunderbirds. So, if all his receiving weapons step up and make the plays when he throws it to them, I think they have a chance. And the defense also has to step up as well and stop the Snowhawks.
Yeah, serve up a lot of bacon. And by that, I mean Cole Bacon. Get him in the backfield.
They got good defensive ends, so they might be able to generate some outside pass rush, which is good because we've already seen how their offensive line struggled against that. But the rest of their defense, what's a good pass rush when you don't have cornerbacks or any defense to be able to cover the pass, and he can just throw it instantly. So that's going to be tough. But like I said, they still have a chance, and hopefully, for their sake, they can get it done. And for the last topic of the day, we have to, of course, end it with tomorrow's game. Probably the biggest rivalry brewing up in the RFL. I wouldn't say the biggest rivalry in the RFL because this honestly didn't become a rivalry until last year and this year with you guys actually ending up in the same division, which made this season even better. The fact that we now get to see the Columbus Explorers face up against the Toronto Thunderbirds twice when the Thunderbirds have been getting the best. Honestly, what I could say is that the Thunderbirds have been the team that has been keeping your team, the Columbus Explorers, from being an elite team in the league.
You really you're gonna have me come in after saying all that?
Yeah. But it's,
come on now.
It's true. But I'm saying,
I know.
Yeah, but and also with that, I also want to ask you and get your interpretation on this. How big is this rivalry now between you and Coach Kozera and these two franchises?
I personally think it's the biggest one that we have in the league right now. Of course, I'm going to say that because I'm in the rivalry, but it's two user coaches who have gone against each other multiple times already. Even though this is our first year, this is definitely not our first meeting, and it's always a good game. And I feel that the rivalry is so high up there because I hope anyway that the rest of the league and the community takes notice of the amount of work that we put in and the type of teams that we're trying to build, and to watch it play out against each other all the time. It's really, aside from that one crazy game last year, the first time I played them with the slide, I'm gonna call it Slider Gate since we're gonna put gate at the end of everything we don't like. It's been great games. Even the playoff game, I lost my quarterback. It was still a fight. And now that we're in the same division and we're considered two of the top teams in the division or in the conference, to me, we are the biggest rivalry. And I think it is that way because of the fact that we put in a lot of work for our team. Not saying that nobody else does. I'm just saying we put in a lot of work, and we have found success in the last, the Thunderbirds for a long time, but I've found success since becoming the coach here, and it's just sort of evolved into this really cool back and forth twice a year now. It's going to be, I think it's huge.
Well, let me give the community a huge breakdown pretty much of this rivalry. So I went back and watched a couple of games, all the matchups, and the Thunderbirds, of course, have a pretty decent stronghold in terms of victories against you guys. They are 4-1 against the Explorers. Now, that includes a divisional game. You count regular season, they're 3-1. But going back, first time you guys met was in season 2. That was before any of you guys were coaches. I believe Kozera was a coach at the time, so I won't say that. Well, actually, I think it was before Kozera's time, too. So in that game, the Thunderbirds were able to win. The second game in Season 3, well, actually, let's keep it Season 2. The first time the NFC teams have came to the RFL, the Explorers were actually the better team going into the playoffs than the Thunderbirds. You guys had a 13-3 record. Thunderbirds had a 11-5 record. You guys ended up losing. And the Thunderbirds, well, yeah, you guys ended up losing in the first round in the divisional round, and the Thunderbirds went on to go to the NFC Championship, ultimately losing to the Diablos, and then Diablos got beat, of course, as we know in Season 2, to the Red Dragons, and they won that. Season 3 came up. Now, Kozera is definitely a coach here. This is before Bill gets into the organization for the Explorers, and they only met each other one time. And in that one time that they met, it was the first time in franchise history that the Columbus Explorers beat the Toronto Thunderbirds, and that was in Week 7 of Season 3, where the Explorers won 24-17. So that was a big milestone victory right there for you guys. At the time, it was a close victory there. 1-1 record, I guess you could say, right there between you guys. Season 4, as we come up. Oh, yeah, still talking about Season 3. I don't want to go ahead of everything. But in Season 3, despite you guys beating them, that was the year that the Thunderbirds ended up going on to win the Relocation Bowl. And so still, yeah, you guys beat them, but they ended up winning the whole thing. And so it's just like, okay, the Thunderbirds still got a one-up. Then the next season, Season 4, which is probably where I say this rivalry really got at its biggest. That's when you came in. That's when we had Coach Kozera already as an established coach. And you guys played one game in the regular season. Actually, yeah, one game in the regular season, I believe, and
yep.
they won. Then you guys met each other in the divisional round of the playoffs, and like you said, it was a crazy game where it could have went either way. You ended up losing your quarterback, Latavian Worrell, and your backup had to come in, and it was a good fight. It was a close game, but the Thunderbirds ended up winning, going back to the RFL Bowl and just falling short to the Huskies in the best relocation bowl to date that we've had. And so now here we are, Season 5. You guys already met once. It was a close game. You guys were actually beating the Thunderbirds. Was it 16-0?
Yep.
And then
yes,
the
was.
Thunderbirds ended up coming back in the second half, pretty much like they always do, and beat you guys with 26 unanswered points, winning 26-16. Now we are here to current date this week. The 6th time in history that you guys are going to meet. How big is this win going to be if you guys are able to take down the big bad Thunderbirds, man?
And for me to reiterate this, like in my mind, this is a huge rivalry. To Mark, this doesn't even have to be a rivalry. The only time I've ever beat him was in the preseason this year. What the hell does that count for? Yeah. I mean, that was pretty crazy because if anybody was watching in preseason, that was awesome. That was a crazy way that game ended. That's my only bright spot. That's the kind of situation I've had against the Thunderbirds. Is I just, I can go up 16-0, I still lose. Last year in the playoffs, I lost my quarterback. It still was a close game. It was not that bad of a game in the playoffs, even without my starting quarterback. And I don't blame it on that at all because he didn't do too bad. It's just always something. And to me, a win, that's like when Steve Young was the quarterback for the 49ers. He came in after Joe Montana. And Joe Montana, had all the Super Bowls. He had all the glory. Everybody loved him. And he just could not, find a way to get over that hump of Joe Montana. And sometimes I feel like that's my situation with the Thunderbirds, just because I cannot find a way to ever beat them, ever. I know it's only been 4 games, but to me, I want to win every game that I coach, of course. But to me, if I can pull out this victory, it's like the monkey off of my back. It's that one thing that's sort of been holding me down that I can get rid of. So to me, it's a huge game. It's the biggest game I've had so far this year, of course. It's just really big for us. And even though, and I don't want it to make it sound like this is our reload bowl, because at the end of the day, we still have to go out and play 4 or 5 more games after this. 6 games. Yeah. So it's by no means the biggest game of the year right now, but for me personally, it sort of is, just because of the fact that I have not really ever been able to get over that hump and get a victory when it counted against them. So it's a big one.
Yeah, I expect it to be a big turnout there to that game. I think that game's going to be definitely probably the biggest game this week, and man, I can't wait for it. It's definitely it might right now be the biggest rivalry right now in the RFL, simply because of the history between the teams, and now of course from the past 2 years, the coaches, you two, the personalities, and with all that coming together, I believe that's what makes this matchup so big. So can't wait to see how that turns out. Best of luck to both you and Coach Kozera. We know we're going to get a good one. Can't wait to see who's going to come out on top of that one, man. You guys might see each other again also in the playoffs. That'd be crazy. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here tonight in terms of the topics we had to cover. We've now, as always, at the end of our live streams, are open to free questions. So if you guys got any questions you guys want to ask, we are now available here to answer them, and we will try to, give you the best answers that we can give you live here on this podcast. So feel free to ask away.
Well, the first thing, Rogier brought up again, he wants to look at stats like we said we were going to last week, but we didn't get a chance to because it was just too late in the process.
In terms of stats, like what
the
stats?
Team stats, like offensive, defensive, conversion rate, that kind of stuff, I think.
Okay, guys, want to look at the conversion rates and all those too? I guess
that's what they want.
Okay, I turned you down, Bill, so you're not going to be as loud. So I'm in the AFC file right now. Let's go ahead and get a look at
if you guys can hear me, I'll try to answer some other questions while he does that. What are the 3 teams available as of now? Right now we have, well, of course, the CELTIC Tigers, but they're not going to be coached by anybody. The Conquistadors, they're available. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, so I know I have to speak up. I'm turned down right now so that Smitty can do the stuff, so that's why I'm quiet.
So I'm going to turn it up now.
Okay.
But it's going to, you guys just know that the game audio is going to be loud because I have to turn it down so that you don't hear the loudness of the game, because I actually have the game audio max out so that you can be able to hear Bill just about on the same level as me. So, that's why the game is actually turned up more significantly than it usually is, and it's good that I have the music turned off for this. But yeah, so here goes a look at the offenses in the that's in the entire file. Here in the AFC file, number 1 offense, as we already know, the Celtic Tigers right there. At number 2, we have the Orlando Sentinels, the Austin Armadillos at 3, Conquistadors 4, Cougars 5, Voyagers 6, Huskies 7, Riverhogs 8, Bulls 9, Bulldogs 10, Black Knights 11, Aviators 12, Bisons 13, Dreadnoughts 14, Pioneers 15, and dead last, still Red Dragons in the AFC 16. So that's unfortunate, but hey, they're still winning the games. So yeah, that's a look at the rankings in the AFC in terms of offense. In terms of defense in the AFC, number 1 defense in the league is the Red Dragons at number 1, Cougars at number 2, Riverhogs 3, Bulldogs 4, Bulls 5, Dreadnoughts 6, Voyagers 7, Huskies 8. I said Huskies 8. Sentinels 8. I'll be reading the wrong names. Huskies 9, Celtic Tigers 10, Pioneers 11. Instead of ranking the numbers, I'm gonna just say the names. Conquistadors next. We have the Armadillos, Black Knights, Bisons, and the dead last defense in the league for the AFC is the Aviators, giving up over 4,000 yards. Jesus. So those are your top offenses and defenses from top to bottom. Conversions, I guess since we all want to look at this, top team in conversions right now is the Celtic Tigers. You see, it's a lot of subcategories, so I'm not trying to go through each one of these.
Yeah, no, we don't have to go through all the subcategories.
I'll just, in general, just for the topic, I'll just do that. So I'll just say for conversions, because I want to make sure everybody else has questions and get those asked as well, answered, excuse me. So for conversions, Celtic Tigers are the top team, followed by the Bulls, Aviators, Voyagers, Bulldogs, Black Knights, Cougars, River Hogs, Sentinels, Dreadnoughts, Conquistadors, Bisons, Red Dragons, Huskies, Aviators, and dead last at converting is the Pioneers. And, you know, even though it seems like I'm going fast here, you can always go back and rewatch this and just, you know, pause it. And you'll be able to see these statistics.
I just saw here from you doing this. The Celtic Tigers are the only team right now that you've shown that have not even attempted a 4th down conversion yet this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They didn't have to.
They haven't had to, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. They've attempted 4 2-point conversions. Only got one of them, though. That's crazy. You know, Armadillos 3 for 3 on 4th down on 2-point conversions. That's what's up. But yeah, let's not get carried away here. Let's go to the red zone efficiency. The Dreadnoughts are the most efficient in the AFC when it comes to red zone efficiency, followed by the Voyagers, Huskies, Sentinels, Celtic Tigers, Bulldogs, River Hogs, Conquistadors, Cougars, Armadillos, Black Knights, Aviators, Red Dragons, Pioneers, Bulls, and Bisons. That last right there for the red zone efficiency. And for penalties, who's the most penalized team in the RFL? Of course, the Bulls. The Bisons, followed by the Celtic Tigers. That's kind of shocking, but I've noticed in some games they definitely have been getting some penalties. The Bulls at 3, Dreadnoughts, Aviators, Sentinels, Red Dragons, Bulldogs, River Hogs, Black Knights, Huskies, Voyagers, Conquistadors, Armadillos, Pioneers, and the least penalized team in the RFL is the Cougars, along with the Pioneers there.
Yeah, Robbie whipping them into shape.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good right there. Well, that's in terms of yards, isn't it?
I have no idea. I can't even. I'm not even.
Actually, this is opposite. This is the most penalized team.
Oh, sorry, Rob.
Wow. So okay. So I've been reading this backwards. So wow. Okay. So Rob must not be whipping them into shape because they gave up the most penalty yards and committed just about the most penalties. So
let's spin this the right way for Rob though. It's not about being the most penalized. They just wanted to be the best at being at penalties. They just wanted to be the best.
Okay, so the Bisons, I'm mad. I apologize for throwing shade at you guys for being the most penalized team in the league. Apparently, you guys are the least. But you know what? I'm not even gonna do what I.
Refs just like, you know what, man? They got it bad enough the way it is. Just don't even throw that flag.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe yeah. Let me just get off that. Act like that never happened. Okay, so the turnovers. Okay, am I reading this right? Is this flipped or is this?
I can't see the screen as quickly as you can, so I have no idea.
Okay, right now I'm on turnovers, and it says different. Okay, so this is the team that's forced the most turnovers in the league in order. So let's just go. Well, okay, we'll just go through the whole list. I won't list them. Well, I'll just list them. Huskies, Dreadnoughts, Celtic Tigers, Black Knights, Red Dragons, Cougars, Pioneers, River Hogs, Conquistadors, Sentinels, Bisons, Bulldogs, Voyagers, Aviators, Bulls, and Armadillos. The Armadillos have a lot of turnovers, apparently, along with the Bulls. Surprising there. Aviators, Voyagers. Okay. And we could get some individual stats here. I'm going to just this will be long to go through each team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do the top 5 of the top teams at doing it right and the top worst teams. And the worst teams at doing it
you gotta hurry up over here and show the NFC some love here too, man.
Yeah, that's what I said. I gotta rush it because I can't go through each individual. So okay, let's see the top 5 teams in terms of interceptions this year. Bulls with 14 with the Armadillos. Then we have the Sentinels with 9, Aviators with 8, and a tie for 5th, I guess you could say, for Huskies and Pioneers. We'll look at, okay, no need to look at that. Who's got the most, man, you know what? I'm going to just go with this. This is going to take a minute to go through each one of these, man. So let me just get out of here to the AFC, man. This is taking a minute. I really did not want to get this hung up.
Let's answer some questions here. I don't want to take up all of our time with this when you guys sometimes have a lot of good questions to ask.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Danny Ross? Welcome to the chat. Looks like we got a couple of new people in here tonight. Valentino Gaming, how's it going, man?
Big shout out to all you guys, man. Much love. Where is? Okay.
How hard do you think it will be to beat the Voyagers at home? I really don't think it's gonna be that tough for the Riverhawks to win at all. That was one of my toss-up games, and I just think that I just like what the Voyagers have been doing. There's nothing against the Riverhawks at all. Honestly, any given day, either one of you could win.
Yeah. So here goes the top offenses. I'm gonna just do top 5, man. Not doing the same thing for AFC. So top 5 offenses. We got the Steamers, Desperados, Explorers, Diablos, and Crusaders. So those are the top 5 offenses in the NFC. Okay, we're not going to do the worst. We're just going to move on so that this doesn't take too long.
I just want to point out to all you people out there that sometimes don't want to give the Explorers the love they deserve. I'm top 3 in offense right now, and I don't even have CJ, all right? So just want to make that aware for people.
And then looking at the defense, you lead that category as the top defense in the NFC.
Ooh.
Which is why, oh, yeah, you must have took that after, because the Thunderbirds were top. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Not by much, but, hey, you got it by, what's that? 13 yards?
I got it by 13 yards.
Yep. So throw some respect on the Explorers and Bills defense.
Eric, if you're going to insult my Explorers, at least spell it properly, bud. Come on now. Not a good way to get drafted in the league.
Jeez, Eric. I wonder how the IQ test, if we had that for the league, how that would go.
Who cares about the Explorers?
Just put me on the team, coach. I'll get the job done. So we got the Explorers, we got the Thunderbirds, we got the Elks, the Marshals, and the Gunners for the top 5 defenses in the NFC. Top 5 teams at conversions, we have the Diablos at number 1, Gunners at 2, Thunderbirds at 3, Shamrocks at 4, Explorers at 5. Red zone efficiency, top teams, Elks number 1, Steamers
Chris
2.
Pock. I'm not sure how to say your last name. I'm keeping track of questions. Once we get past this, I'll go back up and go to the questions. So don't worry.
Yeah, we're speeding through this too, guy. Because I mean, this was definitely a lot faster than the AFC side. So we're definitely gonna get to that because I want to stop this myself. But the Crusaders at 3 for red zone efficiency, Condors 4, Explorers 5. Also, you can see this. You know, you guys do have access to the Daddy Leagues, which has been updated. So you know, if you guys want to look at statistics yourself and compare them from both files and everything, you can do that. Just go to the website and, you know, click on the links for the dailies and to look at the stats. So, I mean, that's how you can honestly look at these yourself, too. But for the sake of it, you know, just doing it here in the live stream, this might be the last time I do it for the live stream, too, because, you know, you guys do have access to that. So if you want to look at that, you can look at that, you know, on your own time to be able to check out, you know, who's leading or who sucks in certain categories in the RFL. But top least penalized teams in the NFC, Tigers, Elks, Thunderbirds, Desperados, and Lancers. And I believe that's, okay, turnovers. Most turnovers, of course, Marshals. The Thunderbirds are 2, Elks 3, Explorers 4, and Barons 5. So that is it for the statistics that I'm going to go through, man. I'm ready to answer some regular questions, man.
All right, let's go back up here. Let's answer Chris's question because he says he asked it a couple times here. How do we feel about the upcoming college season?
Oh, I'm excited for it, man. This is the biggest And, I mean, of course, we already knew it was going to be a dip off from when we used to have it free for guys to join. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that now we have the payment because it means that we're going to get more guys that actually are going to keep up with their players' career, which is something we struggled with before. We put in a lot of time creating these guys players, and dudes was simply weren't showing up. So that's a big reason on why the payment was even introduced, and also it helps fund the league as well. So it's a double win right there. But the fact that the first time that we introduced the payment, we only had 20 guys. I think it was 20 guys total that actually ended up signing up for the college series. College series happened. It was awesome. For guys who couldn't be in there, I know you guys felt some type of way seeing other people enjoy it, but I mean at the same time it was only 20 people, so it wasn't really there was games sometimes where you didn't see user players, and so it was almost like real life college except
Yeah.
in the virtual world, and so it kind of got boring and for those games. But this season, this upcoming college series, we are going to have over 100 plus submitted players. And I honestly feel like every single team in the college series is going to have a player, and it's going to make this the most lit college series that we've ever had.
Yeah, I think so too. It was a huge difference in the amount of turnout we had for players. So it looks like almost every team will have somebody to cheer for now, if not multiple players, which is refreshing because as you guys know who watched last year, we had a lot of teams, but we didn't have a lot of players. So a lot of the games were they didn't have a lot riding on them, or not a lot of guys that were in it to to watch to see where they would come to the RFL draft. So this year I think it's going to be a lot. Just more polished now that we're a year into running it and all that. So I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be obviously the best one yet.
Not only that, me and you already know guys like the top 3 guys who've been working on the staff here. Of course, the entire CU, but also like the 3 guys who've really been working on everything. Me, Bill, and Rob. And Rob has really Rob have really been talking about trying to make sure that we're trying to make it happen to where if we can have the statistics not on Play Now and have it more so on in the franchise file, we are trying to do that. Still may be some complications, but if we can do that, you guys will be able to have instant access to be able to if we can link the daddy leagues, which we're trying to see. But you guys will most likely have instant access, or we could just send you a quick screenshot as opposed to just having to look that stuff up yourself of your statistics during your college season. So that'll be great. Also, all the teams will be there, and it'll actually be a structured schedule where I won't have to come up with the schedule like I struggled to try to do last time, and it just didn't turn out too good. So I think this college series, in terms of structure, is going to be better. In terms of gameplay, is going to be better. A lot more players, and despite all the we've got over 20 plus quarterbacks submitted in this series, and we all know that probably a handful of those guys are actually going to see some playing time, but it definitely makes the college series very exciting to watch because most of all those guys are going to be starters and they're going to be playing. So I mean, I'm excited, man. That's all I can really say about that.
Yeah, definitely. Not really a question, but just want to answer it for Garrett Bender. I think you might be new. I haven't noticed you a whole lot. If you are, welcome to the RFL, man. Hope you stick around. We can't exactly let our rosters be downloaded because of the way we build them. We don't have an import file or anything like that, so that's not something that we have to offer anybody right now.
And then also, we wouldn't do that simply because we want to make our team unique. We don't want people actually having access to the players and probably using them in their own stuff, and then you never know. People do degrade and do certain things with those things, and I would rather it be something unique where people watch it and not just necessarily play with the players and stuff like that. And then also on top of that, like Bill said, like we literally have to build each individual player into each franchise. So there's actually no way that we can even share or create the rosters. But like I was saying, like if there was a way, we probably wouldn't be able to do it. The only way that you can be able to technically get some players is that once the draft is over, I will be releasing the draft class. So that will be downloadable if you want to use that. But by the time that happens, of course, that'll be like in July, and the new Madden would just about be on the way. But at least you'll have the draft class. If you want to recreate it for the next Madden, you can do that.
I'll pay the $5 for a player. Oh yeah, man. It's a real easy process. If you have any questions, you can message us on the website. But yeah, the player application's up under the Become a Player on the website, and $5 only, and then you get invited to the Discord. If anybody out there who's put one in and maybe hasn't gotten one yet, I'm sorry. I've had a busy couple of days. I will be updating the list again tomorrow morning when I get up. So if you have an application in and have not gotten a Discord invite yet, you will be getting one shortly. Just have not gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, and then also, just to put it out there too, only one player can be submitted per year. If you've sent multiple players, now this will be the last year I'm going to do this until say it though. It does say it on the application, which is why most of you guys better start reading before you apply or do stuff, because honestly, we are not liable to refund you at all, because that's said in the application. But me being a stand-up guy, I will refund you if you made more than one player. But this will be the only year you're going to be, out of luck by next year after this, because it's been like a lot of guys just simply don't read, and I'm just tired of telling people, to read, or did you see this, or just that it's only one player per year. So make sure that you know that. This year, I've already handed out a couple of refunds. And also, if you're trying to get somebody else in the league, you cannot pay for them too. And we know if it's paid through the same method. If you want to give them the money to be able to get into it, yeah, you can. But to prove that it's not you sending more than one player, they have to pay for it in a different way. Okay, so don't try to say, "Oh, I sent 3 applications because I was doing it for my friends," because we're not buying that, even if it was true. So you have to.
A week.
Yeah, so like we're not going to let it fly, and if you can consist of that and you don't get back with us, we're just going to keep the money, So that is what it is. It's not us being, like trying to take money, but like at the end of the day, if we put it in the application, you guys don't read that, we don't have to, which is why I'm offering up for this year alone to get your money back. So please don't make more than one player, or you're going to regret it in the future, man.
Yeah. And I'm sick of having to deal with it.
Yeah, for real. Like,
oh, hey, I'm probably way behind because I'm still up above. But Frankie finally figured out we read the penalties wrong.
Yeah, I did those pretty. Yeah, I did a pretty bad job on that.
Yeah, he just figured that out. That was like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, he probably behind on the stream or something.
Yeah, Rob, Frank, your bus left 20 minutes ago.
All right, any more questions out there?
And I'm looking right now. Am I able to get a player going for the college league? No. Or is it too late? No, it's not too late, man. We're still taking applications until I think we've sort of settled on the end of this season, right?
Yeah,
like week 17.
It ends at the relocation bowl.
Once
the relocation bowl, once the relocation bowl ends, that's it.
Yeah. So you got like July
28th.
Yeah, July 28th is probably going to be the cutoff date.
Yeah, I've been doing that since season 2, so I just decided to keep it the same.
I'm looking here. Smitty, Bill, help out. Oh, Derek Gonzalez says, I don't know what happened, but I got kicked out of the RFL Discord and can't get back in. To be honest, man, you probably got purged out because a couple of times if people weren't saying anything in there for months at a time, we had a timer where at some point you're just going to get kicked out because if you're not talking, then there's no point in you being in the Discord. Like, no offense, I'm just saying why we did it. Yeah. If you think that you're going to be around and you are going to, be around on a regular basis, I mean, yeah, I don't see why we couldn't get you in the Discord to represent your player. Just message me on the website in the little chat box at the bottom corner, and we can get that worked out.
And then also with that, I mean, there's definitely been some other guys. You only get one opportunity after being kicked out the first time. So
Yeah.
it's good that Bill said that. So you'll get a chance to get back in if you want to. But that, I mean, if I'm you, unless you know you're going to be active, then you know I wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to be active, then you know join back in. But if you get kicked out again, I'm not sending another invite back to somebody who's not active. That's something that we're trying to get rid of as well, which is a big reason why we've seen the change in terms of the Discord, where not everybody's going to be allowed. From now on, you know, you have to be somewhat active in the Discord, because otherwise there's no point of having you there. And we want the most active members in the Discord to make the community even more funner. So, you know, if you get kicked out of there, from now on for anyone, you know, it is what it is. And I'll keep a book or something on that. So just make sure you're active when you get in there, man. And then also when we send out one invite, that invite only lasts for 24 hours. So you got to get that invite. We will not send out another one if you don't get it.
Frankie wants to know our predictions on the game this week, the Celtic Tigers and the Dreadnoughts.
A lot by a little. Celtic Tigers. So, nah.
I didn't even have to, Frankie. I didn't even have to be honest.
Like, nah.
Smitty did it for me.
Nah, but for real, I think it's actually going to be a pretty close game for a majority of it. But I don't think that the Celtic Tigers are going to win by 2 possessions, though. I don't feel that they'll win by 2 possessions. I think it will be like, well, actually, yeah, I do feel that they win by 2 possessions, but it won't be like 2 full touchdowns or more. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be no 14 points or more. I doubt it. I think it's going to be at max probably like a 10-point loss to the Celtic Tigers, but I think it's going to actually be a pretty close game. In terms of the score on the exact number, I don't know, but I think it will be a pretty close game. But I as much as I'm a Dreadnoughts fan, man, and as much as I would like to see that happen, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, that was good. That was golden. Chris wants to know favorite college team on this upcoming season. Well, I mean, we really don't even know where everybody is going to go yet, because as most of you guys know, that we're going to have that time later for transfers to happen, just because we have a lot of prospects. You don't want people to be stuck on a team on the bench. But I'm going to go Wisconsin because that's where I live, and go Badgers.
Man, they were terrible last year, man.
Hey, whoa,
They were
man.
terrible
Dude,
in the college series.
Stop it.
They were awful. Jeez,
Stop.
hopefully they're not like that. Hey, I'm just keeping it real, man. Hey, I hope they don't. You know what? I'm with you, Bill. I hope they don't show up like they did last year, because that was terrible, man. And who they have at the quarterback? I'm not even gonna get into all that.
Dude,
he was a submitted player,
right
but for real, man. You guys were the worst team in the series.
You better go and put some players on Wisconsin Badgers, and let's go win the Natty so that these guys can stop it right now.
I have to turn into Charles Barkley, man. Terrible. They were terrible. They're pretty bad, dog.
Dude, you need to stop it right now.
What are they, 2 and 10?
Stop it. Yeah, they were like 2 and 10 or something. They like didn't win anything.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But somebody turn them around, please. They end up like that again, man. Bill, you're going to have to find a new team. At least in the virtual world.
Yeah. Jesus. Something's going to happen. It's going to happen. And Josh wants to know, wants me to, yeah, I'll do that, Rumble. No worries. Stop making quarterbacks. All right? I know everybody wants to be the quarterback and be the guy who leads them all the way, but stop it. We have a lot of quarterbacks.
And honestly, it's not too bad, to be honest. I can't say stop making quarterbacks because even though most likely you're not going to be playing in the league at all until some years down the line, most likely.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, like, if you're a player that's trying to get playing time in the actual RFL, then I wouldn't recommend you make a quarterback. But if you're a dude that, you know, wants to take that chance and you just want to see your player play a full season in college and, you know, to fill up teams, I don't see nothing wrong with it. But just know that if you do, with your one player, you're not going to, you know, you're most likely not going to ever be a starter, most likely in this league. You may have a chance because a lot of the GOATs in this league are getting old and they are going to probably retire. But, you know, a lot of people submit a quarterback each year. So
Yeah,
It's
and all of the
very
guys
slim
from the
chance.
last 2-3 years in drafting are all still sitting on the bench waiting for their chance because all the old guys are still in front of them. So I mean, it's not that you won't play. You'll play in the college series. Maybe you can be the win a national championship in the college series. But man, you're gonna be riding some pine in the RFL, and that's no
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, and you're just gonna be sitting back. Like
Yeah,
you'll have a good time for first 4 weeks in the preseason,
yeah.
but
Get you some
other
pom
than
poms
that,
after that because that's about as far as
yeah,
that's going.
yeah. So it's definitely a long time for you to be able to get some playing time as a quarterback in this league.
Will there be a mock draft posted, Eric? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna probably do some more stuff on that this year for sure.
Yeah, and then to think about, and then also you guys got to also understand, we work a lot on the regular season going on right now. So right now our focus is not the draft, so we cannot work on things like that at the moment. You will most likely see content like that during like probably in the playoffs or afterwards. There'll be a lot of college stuff, most likely in the playoff time. But as of right now in the regular season, you're not going to see any of that. If you guys post stuff, make sure you add us so that way I can retweet or repost you guys, like I've been seeing, Chris and Loso do, which is a great job. If you guys want to keep posting content about your guys and you add us, then I'll make sure to put that out there so that other people can get amped up about the college series, and of course try to follow you guys as well.
And then Eric also wants to know who you think the top 5 picks in the draft will be.
Well, we already know who the most likely the top 3 are going to be: Geno Gannon, Marquise Washington, Drew Brewer.
Yeah.
Honestly, after that,
Well, honestly, I mean, you probably put Eric up there because corner's a very needy position.
oh yeah, Eric most likely will go into 5.
And then
I can't honestly. It's open up to other star players, but there's a lot of star players. So.
Will we be able to see our college players in uniform in the future, like in practice or something? I don't think like Smitty just said, like we'd love to be able to focus on every project we do all year, but it's hard when we're in the middle of something. I know there's been a couple of guys in the Discord that looks like they have the mod and have been asking guys if they want to get a picture or two of their player. That might be your best course at this point, but I wouldn't rely on us being able to do something like that at this point because we're still not even submitting players yet. So it's going to be a while before we start tinkering with that stuff. I shouldn't say we because I'm not the one that does that, but before Rob and Smitty start tinkering with that, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, and then also to think about it, guys, you got to understand the time crunch that we are in as a staff here. The season is going to end the 28th. We're pretty much, I'm planning on having the draft in mid-July. So that's really not a lot of time. We are planning to actually have the draft live this year instead of it being a video, which will be even more, immersive for you guys. But we are still working on ways to try to figure out how exactly we're going to do that. But it seems like for the most part, we have it just about figured out, but still not all the way yet. But then on top of that, that gives us about half a month to try to, create all of your players, and that's 100 plus. And even though, yes, you guys are keeping the attributes most likely of the guys that you guys are taking over, I still have to build you guys as you want it to be built from your application, and that's going to be 100 plus players. Could be a possibility that we reach up to 200. You never know, because usually we, from my past experience, from when the player submissions close on the relocation bowl, there's usually a ton of people that show up to the RFL bowl, and if they don't have a submitted player and they see how hyped and how exciting the league is, it's going to be probably about 50 people that's going to submit prospects that day. So I mean, that has happened in the past. So that's why I'm saying like that it's going to be a lot. And that's not a lot of time for me to be able to build that. And that's why I said I can't even guarantee that there will be too much of a mock draft. Maybe we need somebody outside to work on that. But I can tell you one thing. I'm trying to work on it. But if I can't find the time, the college series is more important. The draft is more important. We have to get through that stuff. And so if you don't see any of that content, hopefully you guys understand why from what I'm telling you. But, it's a serious time crunch, and I like to be on time despite the podcasts that I miss that never end up being on time at 8 p.m. Eastern. But I'll try to get right with that. But I like being on time, on schedule with things. So if it's not, if it's going to hold that back, I'm not trying to do it.
And then Chrome wants to know if there's going to be custom logos for the RFL playoffs and relocation bowl.
Custom logos for RFL playoffs, and
I'm wondering if maybe the teams that make it or something. I'm not sure.
Well, he said logos.
Custom logos for the RFL. Oh, I'm wondering if he's. I bet he's talking about logos for RFL playoffs and relocation bowl, like the logo.
All right,
for those.
So I'll break the news here then, man, because it seems like this, you guys, since you still won't see it, it'll still be a surprise. I know you guys are gonna like it. One thing, and it's not gonna happen though, which sucks. I wish we could do it. The playoffs, the logos, and everything are gonna be the same, but the relocation bowl this year is gonna be so lit because we are literally working right now and rebranding all of these teams in our image. And whatever two teams make it to the relocation bowl, they're going to have a legit custom uniform and look with our own logo of the team and their own look of the uniform at the championship relocation bowl game. And you guys already saw from last relocation bowl where Rob did a good job of, designing the field in our image, getting rid of all the NFL stuff. Just imagine seeing the field like that in our own actual relocation bowl team. So like, say for instance, like the Thunderbirds going to have their own logo. Celtic Tigers, if they say those two are the two that go to the relocation bowl, they will have their own new rebranded logo and uniforms. That's what's going to happen this year in the draft. In the relocation bowl. So I might as well break it since people are already teetering on it. But the excitement will be when you actually see it. And that, just wait till that day comes. Any other questions?
I don't see any. A lot of them are just talking about, looks like what you just said, and then some of the players are still talking and whatnot. I don't see. Oh, one last question that I saw from. Where was it? I just saw it. Gosh darn it. It was a good one, too. There it is. Regier, could you see the Lancers not getting a bye and end up being the 3 seed in the playoffs? He says below the Explorers and Steamers, but I don't know if me and the Steamers are going to be the 1 and 2 seed or how everything's going to shake out yet. But basically, do you see him not being the number 1?
Number 1 team for the NFC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Because for one, most likely that might be the case. Not saying they can't end at number 1, but for one, you still got the Explorers and Steamers you got to play in this season. And honestly, like I said, you still got to prove to be elite. Yeah, you took down the Snowhawks, but honestly, the Snowhawks, I put them on the same level with the Steamers. But I feel like the Explorers are a better team than the Snowhawks and have been. Well, they're about equal, but the Explorers, now seem to be getting the edge now. So the Explorers are a slightly better team. And honestly, I felt like the Snowhawks game, you guys showed up in a big way. But that injury to DJ Scott probably did change the game as well. So I not trying to throw any shade towards your way with the Lancers, but I don't feel that you guys will stay at the number 1 team in the NFC. But you're definitely going to the playoffs. That's for sure. And that's where you got to prove me wrong. You could prove me wrong by beating those guys this season. So that should be the goal for you in the season. Beat the Explorers, beat the Steamers. You do that, man. You make it to the playoffs, man. That's, you've done a lot this year if you do that.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Valentino. Glad you found us. Hope you come back for some more games, man. It's gonna get exciting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't see any other. I don't see any other questions. Looks like just talking back and forth.
All right, cool. That's good. Well, yeah, it's about time to end this anyway. Just about almost like 2 hours long. So appreciate you guys as always coming through the live stream. Of course, we'll have another podcast next week on Wednesday, as always. But I can't say as always for the time. Hopefully, it'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, my bad.
But if it is at 8 p.m. Eastern, then at the end of the day, that's we'll have the podcast around the same time. We do this every week, so make sure to show up the next time we do. What were you saying, Bill?
I just missed one last thing. Chrome asked about who's hotter, the Lancers or the Thunderbirds.
Answer to the Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds, because their history. So and they're still only lost one game. But I mean, hotter this season. Of course, the Lancers right now.
Yeah, like Darius said, let's just make it for 8:30 from now on. How about that, Smitty? Because
I don't want to do that because I feel like I'm gonna keep saying 8 o'clock, guys. But just always have it in the back of your head that it may just be 8:30. Most likely, it may be 8:30. And the reason why, and it's not because that I'm doing this on purpose. It just always seems to happen because it's the timing and the fact that I have to design these graphics coming into this. And sometimes these graphics, well, for the past 3 weeks that I've been off time, it's been because of the graphics, because it's been taking longer than expected. To be honest, it's been the motion videos. If I didn't have to do the motion videos, we would have been on time today. We've been on time every time. But, that's just how it works out. So.
Yeah, we sacrifice that 30 minutes to give you guys just that much more of a better product every time.
Yeah, and then sometimes I gotta go to sleep, man. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The work behind this for all the guys in the CU, and mainly me, Bill, and Rob, we are literally working just about the entire day. And on top of that, some of them got jobs, so the fact that we're finding ways to balance this stuff out. I woke up 9. I woke up like 9 o'clock today. And I literally was working on RFL stuff and took an hour nap. And that was it. All the way up until 6 o'clock. Then I had to do the graphics. Like, that's a lot of work, bro.
That reminds me of a few times when like before all of this crazy stuff with COVID-19 and we were all actually going to work. And I was going to work. I'd get up in the morning and I'd have like 8 missed messages from like the coaches union or something. And here it is. It's Rob who's still working on some other graphic or some other thing for the league. It's like 5:30 in the morning. And I remember us talking on the phone at 7 p.m. last night. What is the world is this guy doing at 5:30 in the morning? He hasn't slept. But that's just the life how it goes, man.
That's what we do, man, because we already know, and I'm pretty sure most of all of you already know the potential of how big this league is going to get. I'm not saying could get, is going to get. This league is going to get big. That's guaranteed. So like sometimes you have to sacrifice. Like right now, even to give you more, advice or knowledge on me, I graduated college last year with my bachelor's. I honestly would be going, well, it's a good thing this hasn't happened because of the COVID, but honestly, if it wasn't for this league, would be going to grad school right now. And I chose not to go to grad school at the moment because I was supposed to join the military as well. But I didn't do any of those things because I saw the potential in this league, and it's been a passion of mine since I was young, before this league even started. Like ever since I've played Madden, this is the way I played it. I got tired of playing NFL teams because it's always the same. We see that in real life. So why, play with the same players, the same team? I always wanted to create my own league, and this was always the way I did it. And I see the potential of where this could go. So right now, I'm putting my money on making this the next big thing for the gaming and football community. And so I'm putting all my time in it. I currently don't even have a job, and I'm building this up. I'm in a privileged position, with my family. My family's got good amount of money to sustain me and everything. But I make my own money mainly from this league, and that's not saying a lot, but it helps me out because I don't have to pay for a house bill. I got my own car and everything, but that's paid off. But this is just me being real with you guys. Sorry for the rant. But this is just to show you how much and how dedicated I am to this league and have been, and I will continue to be dedicated to this league and continue to do these things because I see the potential in it. And that's what the type of people that we want in this. This is the type of people I want in this league. I want you guys to be as committed as I am and to be on the rise with me to see that happen. Because there's nothing greater than seeing something come from the ground up and then be, and then just finally getting there and to say that you were a part of that. And so if you want to be a part of the journey with us, man, then, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow the RFL, get involved, learn the players, learn the history. When you learn that, this league actually becomes real.
It
and
becomes
to me,
so
it's
much
real.
more fun too, man. Oh man, Hey, it's crazy when you first see it, but as you like get to, the more you learn about it, the cooler it gets. Like that's not just me saying it because I've been helping out so much. Like that's exactly what happened to me. Like just watch it all, and you're gonna fall in love.
Yeah, and so like I said, like still going back, like you know, I even chose this over football. As y'all know, like I'm not playing college football anymore. I got injured, but like when I was even playing college football, I would do this stuff for this league. So it's very important to me. This league means a lot to me, and this league is never going to fold. And you can see how it's rising. I'm continuing to learn from my mistakes. I'm continuing to build on this. This league is going to be the next big thing, and hopefully one day soon, this will spin off into its own game. But like I said, make sure you guys are there on the ride because it's going to get there, and there's nothing that's going to hold me or this league back. And the group of guys that were there with me to help build it up. So. Want to say I see you guys in there, man. Love all you guys too, man. The community, this league, everything, it means a lot to me. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for all the support daily, showing up to the games. And till next time, man, we got games tomorrow. I'm gonna see you guys. Explorers, Thunderbirds, 6
Go
p.m.
Explorers.
Eastern. Show up to the game, man. Show up to this game. It's going to be a live game. I wish I had the graphic already done for it, but man, show up and let's get ready for some RFL football tomorrow.
Let's break
But
a
that's
record
gonna-
for a live stream. Let's do that. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get everybody in there as possible.
Let's make it like a playoff game, man. 100 plus
Yeah.
if possible. But yeah, shout out to everyone here. It's your boy Smitty, RFL Commissioner and play-by-play commentator. Until next time, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.